This tiny stick holds just over 20,000 games, and if you're interested in picking this up, it will set you back anywhere between 40 and 80 US dollars, as the price varies a lot. Check out the link in the description down below so that you can always get the best possible price. But is it worth it? Hello and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Joe and I make tech videos for the common user. Here it is all about the experience and none of the technical jargon unless absolutely necessary. If this sounds like content that you would enjoy, please consider subscribing. If at any point during this video you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments down below. The GameStick Pro is a tiny device with a design that's clearly inspired by the PS5. A male HDMI connector is hidden beneath a small removable cap. The package also includes a USB-A to micro USB cable for powering the device, along with a short female to male HDMI adapter for TVs with ports facing the wall. Now, most TVs with USB ports should power it just fine, but you may need an external charger if your TV lacks sufficient power or if your TV does not have an available USB-A port at all. Personally, I would have preferred a female HDMI port on the device itself, as it would have simplified connections, especially when using portable gaming monitors with mini HDMI ports. And as it stands, you'll need an extra female to female HDMI adapter for such setups. Two controllers are included and they also echo the PS5 style. Each controller requires two AA batteries, which by the way are not included. The controllers have decent build quality, and although they don't exactly feel premium, the plastic build feels sturdy enough. They use standard joystick mechanisms, so don't expect premium features like Hall effect sensors. In fact, even though the joysticks are analog in themselves, because I tested it in a computer, in the GameStick Pro they actually function in a digital manner. You turn on the controllers by pressing either the start or the home or this tiny little button right here that symbols like, I don't know, going back or turbo. But strangely, there is no way to turn them off manually, unless of course you take off the battery. However, they do turn off by themselves after a period of inactivity, or even faster if they are not connected to any dongle at all. And speaking of which, it does include a single USB-A dongle which connects both wireless controllers. Now this is one thing that I really like about this, and the fact that it makes the whole setup truly plug and play. Now of course, the most important aspect of a device like this is the gaming experience. So how does it perform? Let's start with the interface. It runs on a very simplified MULX system. It is responsive with no noticeable lag even with the wireless controllers. However, the button mapping does feel a little bit weird because the X and Y buttons are inverted. Something particularly noticeable in fighting games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, where the punches and the kicks are not exactly where you would expect them to be if you're used to playing those games back in the day. Now, when I say that MULX is simplified, I mean it is truly simplified. You cannot change any settings, like at all. You cannot change the audio, the video output. You cannot even change the controller mappings, which I thought it was a little bit strange. This of course may put off power users or gamers who love to tinker with their emulators. Now the upside of this though is that the interface is virtually impossible to mess up. The GameStick Pro comes preloaded with just over 20,000 games on a 64 microSD card with ext4 format. More on that later. While yes, there are some repeated ROMs, most games included are unique. One strange aspect is how the games are sorted numerically instead of alphabetically, causing some confusion. For a lot of the games, the numbers happen to match the game's alphabetical order, but not always. Using the built-in search function or marking your games as favorites helps navigate around this. One thing I really liked is the included artwork, usually showcasing screenshots combined with original box art. It shows that somebody out there put a lot of time and effort into this. As for the gameplay, most games run smoothly, but titles utilizing specialized chips such as some Super Nintendo games may present some issues. For example, when I tested Star Fox, it glitches graphically and freezes shortly after starting the gameplay, so basically you cannot play it at all. Star Fox 2 doesn't load at all, it just stays on a blank screen. Now Yoshi's Island on the other hand has minor visual glitches, but remains playable for the most part. Games like Mega Man X2 and X3 are playable overall, but they do lack the text boxes. This causes the story and dialogue to be completely invisible, so if storytelling is important to you or some instructions, then this game might pose a little bit of a challenge. And then there's Street Fighter Alpha 2, which loads, but as you can see, it is visually corrupted and thus unplayable. An interesting quirk I found is that Super Mario World assigns gameplay for both Mario and Luigi, so player 1 and player 2, to the same controller. I found this very odd because even if both controllers are on, and even if you select 2 players in the game's main menu, this is what happens. So on this particular game, you do have to hand over your controller to the other player. Now, this was the only game that I saw this behavior because I did test other 2-player games in the same Super Nintendo system and they happen to work correctly. Another interesting quirk I found is that the right joystick strangely mirrors the button presses rather than serving as a true analog stick. In other words, pressing up on the right joystick mirrors the Y button, pressing left on the joystick mirrors the X button, and so on. This makes games that require DualShock functionality difficult or, well, even impossible to play really. Thankfully, not all PlayStation games require this. While I didn't have time to test all 20,000 games, I mean, who would? It is safe to say that the great majority of games play decently. Even the PlayStation games play half decent, so as long as you don't require the DualShock functionality, you should kind of have a good time with those games. So let's talk about the pros and cons, kind of wrapping this up. I really like that the unit is truly plug and play and it's really tiny, so basically you just plug in the HDMI, the dongle, the micro USB cable, and you're good to go. There is basically no setup required except for plugging in the device and adding your own batteries to the controllers. There is a huge selection of games that should provide hours upon hours of fun. Now, not being able to change the settings makes it a perfect gift for kids or anyone who really is into trying to go back into playing retro games but doesn't like the idea of tinkering with emulators. Like I said, this game stick is practically impossible to mess up, but that does help serve as a segue because this is also a con for people who do like to tinker with their emulators, especially because of the lack of button remapping. Now, you might remember that I mentioned that the microSD card comes in an ext4 format. This is a format that is readily readable by Linux computers, but it is not readable in any other operating system. In the case of Windows, you might have access to this format using a third-party application, but I found no way to read this SD card using a Mac system, for example. This means that you are pretty much stuck with the 20,000 plus games that it comes with. There is no easy way to add your own. Now, this begs the question, do you really need more than 20,000 retro games? Now, finally, not sure if I can call it a con, but I did find it weird that this device and all of its competitors, for that matter, have 4K branding all over the box and even on the device itself, but I did find that the output is actually only 720p and there is no way to upscale this. The GameStick Pro is a great choice for easy, portable, plug-and-play retro gaming. Despite all of its quirks, its simplicity and family-friendly usability make it perfect for casual gaming sessions and an excellent gift for children. This review was made using a retail sample provided by the distributor. Although they shared some talking points, they had no editorial control, meaning that they did not get to see this video before publishing. So I can safely say that all opinions expressed here are strictly my own. So what do you think about the GameStick Pro? Are you planning to pick one up for your next gaming session or maybe to give it as a gift? Let me know in the comments down below. If you found this video helpful, would you mind giving that like button just a little tickle? I would greatly appreciate that. Maybe even consider subscribing if you would like to see more videos like this. This is it for now. Hope to see you in the next one, and until then, God bless and happy gaming.